Picture December 20th, 2019. Everybody's seen The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody agrees that it was great, and we all get along, and it's wonderful. That's not gonna happen! Welcome back, everybody. This is the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. How are you guys? Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a fun one. The one with the Force. I guess just one with the Force. Is back.
It's the one with the Force. Our patrons
The one
know
with
that.
the Force. Yes. Yes, our patrons will know what we're talking about. But one with the Force is back. And we're also going to have a discussion about, is it inevitable that there's going to be controversy about the Rise of Skywalker? I mean, we'll see. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's say hi to James and Lacey. Guys, how's it going? Are you ready to talk about Star Wars for about an hour?
I mean, that's uncommon. I don't normally do that. I often think, is it possible to talk that long about a couple of movies? I mean, I don't know. So I'll try.
All right.
I'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's funny. I was at work the other day and my coworkers mentioned something to me about Star Wars. And I guess I had the biggest smile on my face and started talking to them about it. And they're like, we could say anything about Star Wars and you smile and you get so giddy to talk about it. They were like, I wish I loved anything that much. It's like, all right, cool.
Wow. So what you're saying is there'd be a giant void in your life if George Lucas was allowed to make a Flash Gordon movie.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be a completely different person.
All right. Guys, I'm excited.
Would you not be?
I think I would be too, but I think I would just be, I'd find maybe, I'd like something else that isn't as cool that exists. And I'd probably be like that. I'd probably be on like a, I don't know, like would I be on like a different podcast that talks about a different movie franchise? Like, would I be on a Fast and the Furious podcast talking about drifting?
I always use that
up,
comparison when
wearing
it comes
tank
to music and stuff. Like when people are like, but if it wasn't for this band, you wouldn't have. And I would like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have. And I wouldn't care either because I'd be happy in whatever other life where I'm a painter or something, accountant. I would like my job and that's why I do what I do, you know?
In the comments, I want to know what listeners think we would be in a parallel universe. Without Star Wars.
Where Star Wars didn't exist, yeah.
You know what?
Who would I be as a person?
I also want them to comment on what their answers would be in this next segment that we like to call One with the Force. Baze, baby, hit me with it.
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were going to do 3 with the Force, but we were running low on time, so we decided to cut it back a little bit. We're going to go ahead and just do 1 this time, 1 with the Force. But like I said, we're running low on time, so let's get started. All right. If you could make one thing happen in the Rise of Skywalker, what would it be? What? If you could make one, if you could make one thing happen.
Anything?
Yeah.
That's a Biodome joke.
Anything. It can be anything from small Easter egg to a major plot point. Lacey, you're going first. What's the one thing that you would fuse into the Rise of Skywalker if you could?
Ben Solo is redeemed.
So you would use your opportunity for something that might already happen?
That's how bad I want it.
All right. Okay.
That's how bad.
You're like it's 98%. You're like, let's make it 100.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. That's 98. Okay. All right. Ben Solo is redeemed. The rest of the movie sucks. I'm just kidding.
Wait, is that the question?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
What's the one thing that you get your stamp? You said, JJ, you get to make this movie on one condition. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll lock this
John,
in.
what is your one condition?
If I could make one thing for certain happen in The Rise of Skywalker, it would be a beautifully ILM-backed rendering of Force Spirit, Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, voiced by Stephen Stanton as the representation of his Force Ghost at some point in the movie. I would love to see that.
I wouldn't have guessed that as your thing.
What would you have guessed?
I don't know, but I wouldn't have guessed that you'd be like Force Ghost. That's what I want.
It's either that or like a de-aged scene with Harrison Ford as Han Solo.
I thought you would have said something R2 related.
Oh, he's coming back. He's going to save the day.
Okay. James?
You know, it's funny. I had like a kind of a dumb like cheat answer, and then I was like, but I'll get a real answer, and then I forgot what my real answer was. My cheat answer was, if I could make one thing happen, it would be that this movie actually pleases everybody. Like that would be
world peace.
Yeah, but that's not
kinda
that's
thing.
not in the Rise of Skywalker.
I understand. It's like if you could
World
make
peace.
one thing happen, I would make it a good movie, you know, or something like that. I can't remember what my actual legitimate answer was, though. I guess that.
Well, if it comes back, like just say, "I thought of it."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
might
make sure you're
think of
doing it when Lacey's in the middle of a really important point about Kylo Ren,
Yeah.
and then be like, "Lacey, shut up."
All right.
You should probably clear that up, James, that it was a joke. It was a joke. He was joking when you were like, Lacey, shut up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I tried to even say that in the thing when I ran back in. I was like, well, I thought you'd think that was funny. Like, you're sitting there like, so the other day I was like, and I was like,
You know what?
nothing matters.
We should have put that clip like out of context as our preview for the episode and watched
Oh
just
my
people
gosh.
lose their mind on us. They would have been like,
Yeah.
Shut up, Lacey. Doesn't matter. I mean, generally,
All right.
a lot of people say that to me, but
All right, so let's move on to the next one. So this is going to be a one word or phrase that you would warn your fellow stormtroopers that Darth Vader was walking down the hall. So if he's coming around and you're a stormtrooper, what word have you set up to be like, you know, caca? As
code word?
The code word for Vader is coming around the corner. John, we're starting with you on this one.
I'd be like, breathe-o-matic, breathe-o-matic.
Breathe-o-matic?
Yeah. Because he automatically breathes with his machine.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but that would be your what? Like, I think that would be awkward. Like, if he happened to overhear that.
You think so?
Anyway, breathe-o-matic?
I get force choked out, you think?
Probably.
You'd be like, I know what that is. Good. Just squeeze my throat. All right.
Yeah, that seems like a Steve Carell skit where he's like trying to be subtle, and it's like not subtle at all.
So, guys, is breathe-o-matic bad? Let me know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lacey, what would be your
It's
code
probably
word?
bad.
I do like inhaler or asthma.
The same thing. Oh my gosh.
See, but I'm not subtle as a person, so that's not a surprising answer for me.
I just
So-
get vilified for breathe-o-matic, and Lacey goes, I do like inhaler.
Yeah, I want you guys
Just
like,
breathing.
I'm setting myself up. I mean, like, mine's probably dumb too, but like my thing is like, imagine you are on
Did
like
you
a
even remember
respirator.
yours, James?
Yeah. Say you're on a respirator, or you have some sort of life support system that you carry with you or whatever, and it makes you kind of irritable sometimes. So you come around the corner and a stormtrooper goes, inhaler.
Yeah, but then you could play it off like, I need my inhaler.
A stormtrooper?
I don't know if they have inhalers in space. Matt Martin, is it canon?
If they did, the helmet and stuff. Anyway, mine is not that much better, I'll be honest. But I was like, I'd probably just say code V. I know it's lame, but I literally was trying to think of a reason to do exactly what you guys.
Why don't we just say like Chokey McChokelson?
Exactly. That's what you guys are doing. Like, so I'm trying to be like as subtle as possible, but still something that like people be like, oh, what's a code A, code B? Like that's more subtle, but people might remember.
I'm like, yo,
so it'd
Tim.
be like, yo, we got a code V coming up here, or something. I just think it'd be super subtle.
Tim, Sand Hater is walking down the hallway. Sand Hater walking down the hallway. Sand Hater.
You gotta be more
Sand
creative
hater.
about like sand art.
Sand
Like
art.
mine for Voldemort would be like, no nose is coming down the hallway. And they'd be like,
Oh, get out of here.
he'd be like, I know who that is. You're talking about me.
Yeah.
And he'd go, Expelliarmus, and he'd kill me, and I'd be dead.
Well, if we're going that, you could be like no legs and no
Right.
arms.
Right.
Stumpy.
Yeah.
Dark McBroody Stumpy guy.
Yeah.
I think
That's true.
I did remember one of my small Easter eggs.
Okay.
I would give a character that has no place in Rise of Skywalker, but could be their light. So I'm talking like a Kaz or a Thrawn or a Sabine or something like that. I would give them like a spot in the a chance to stand in the spotlight for like 1 second. I would force that to happen
Nice.
somewhere. Okay, next one is if you could have been on the set to watch one film or to watch them film one scene from anything in Star Wars history, what would that one scene be? Lacey, you're starting this one off.
So like behind the scenes?
You're on
The
set
way-
and you're watching them film.
Yeah. So the way I kind of took it too is I kind of broadened it to little like it's not one scene like, oh, Mace Windu cutting off Jango Fett's head. It's more like I would love to be there for any time they were shooting the Geonosis stuff. Like I went a little bit wider with it. I don't know if John's specific to a single shot, but
Can you come back
got
to
anything?
me? Can you come back to me?
Yeah. What do you got, John?
I would be, I think just the kid in me would have to do Dagobah with Frank Oz, doing Yoda with Luke.
Oh, good answer.
In Empire, teaching him about the Force and the tree and the rock and that sort of thing, and like watching Frank Oz, because everything was underneath this stage and they're all operating underneath there, and Mark Hamill had to interact with the puppet, and watching them bring the puppet to life and hearing Frank Oz animate it physically and do the voice, and with Mark Hamill there and R2, I think I would love to be in that atmosphere, like more fog machine, like get more fog going, like that whole Dagobah set. I think I'd be down with that one.
That is a great
That's
answer.
That's a good answer.
Thanks.
Lacey, if you need a little bit more time, I can give mine.
Well, my joke answer that comes to my head is Adam Driver shirtless. That's my joke answer.
sure.
Where I was like, oh, this would be funny. And it's not funny, so I'm not going to give it as an answer. My serious answer would probably be probably the end of Return of the Jedi, where they're all together and they're like partying with the Ewoks, where everyone's having fun, or the sand barge scene where
Ooh,
they're
that's a-
like
that's
everything
a good
goes
one.
nuts.
Yeah. On the outside, you mean?
Because there's so much choreography that went into that scene, like
Yeah.
go, and then this guy's fighting and this guy's kicking and this
We
guy's
see all the mattresses that they fall into and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I actually
pretty
think I would
cool.
pick that scene more because
That's
just
a
the
good one.
action.
Yeah.
I was so afraid you guys were going to take mine, and then Lacey kind of gave two, and I was like, ugh! Mine
Sorry.
would be... No, you didn't take it, though.
Do we have a new Kessel Run in the mix here?
Oh, maybe
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Adam Driver shirtless. Adam Driver shirtless. Adam Driver.
Did you like you haven't brought this back in a while. Did you tell someone like, listen to this episode, I'm going to say it 7 times?
greased up, flexing, greased up.
Let me put on my 3D goggles, Lacey, because you're being too two-dimensional right now.
I deserve that. Fair.
All right,
Go ahead, James.
James, you have the stage.
Do I, though?
Oh,
just kidding.
James.
Mine would be the classic I am your father moment.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
So I think that if I were able to go back to this scene, I would get to see it as how they filmed it, and I would be included in the booth when he gives the actual lines and the discussion of like, because I wasn't there, so I get to fictionally add myself in. So it's
Right.
like he's like, hey, come over here, and he's like, James, you too, you get over here. All right, here's the real line.
Yeah.
This is how it's gonna go down.
Here's the
Like,
deal.
that would be very cool. Although I
you would
like both
hear-
of your answers.
You would hear David Prowse say like, Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would be able to retell that story of like he said this, and then it went down like this, and it was just totally weird. And I don't even think that guy knew.
Like you guys had good answers.
I don't think David Prowse knew. I think there was an
That's
interview
what I'm
where
saying.
he was upset that they didn't tell him or something like that.
Yeah, he also said he guessed it like before the release of the second movie or something like that.
The original
right?
call it culture. Dave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When people in the movie were taking credit for calling things.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a clip of him. He's like, I don't know, like something crazy, like he's his father or something.
Right.
And then people like later pulled it out and was like,
George
did
Lucas
he know?
had-
And he's like, I didn't know.
George Lucas had a heart attack and had to go to the hospital. Again, another scene where a lot of mattresses. Mark Hamill fell into a big pile of mattresses.
For
in that
sure.
one. But let
All
us know
right.
in the comments if you think we should Kessel run that topic, because that got interesting there for a second.
Of course, we just gave some away. But all right, this is the next one. Use one word to complete this sentence. I hope the Mandalorian series is blank. Since John went first on the last one, we're going to go ahead and give it back to Lacey. Lacey, do you hope the Mandalorian series is blank, or do you have another word that you could fill in there?
I hope it's action-packed with a hyphen.
Ooh.
Because
Action.
I'm looking
hyphen
forward
packed.
to a lot of fight scenes and like cool choreography and like just a super fun show to watch. Like not too dark or deep because like not like a Breaking Bad where there's like a lot of emotions in play. I guess just more like fun.
All right, John, what do you got? What's your word?
I hope the Mandalorian series is wild.
Woo!
Yeah,
I think mine's kind of similar to that.
I want it to be just chaotic, but not in a I don't understand what's going on with the story. But I want there to be so many moving parts where, like this episode, we're going here and we're doing this, and this person is after this guy, but he needs to find this. Like I want it to be like Western, but wild, with like at least some kind of like True North organization. But wild is what I want. I want a wild series.
All right, my word is I hope the Mandalorian series is game changing.
Ooh.
So a hyphen, another hyphen deal.
I guess so. Yeah.
You didn't say no hyphens.
I know you guys
Yeah, you
cheated.
I hope the Mandalorian series
One with the
is
Force.
really hyphen good hyphen because hyphen
John
no.
hyphen Favreau hyphen has
I think yeah.
should call-
I
we should
think
call One with the Force, kind of. Just because we're always like, well, I have two.
yeah, I think
Sorry.
game changing is game changer is like a hyphenated word. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's one thing. Anyway, why I wanted to say that is because kind of like yours, John. I hope it's wild. Like it's like, whoa, this thing's blowing my mind, right? I hope that it's not just me, like because they could blow my mind if they're like World of Worlds and all crazy stuff. And I think most people would be like, that's just kind of dumb, right? So ultimately, I'm looking grand scope here. I think that with television being what it is these days, I think that The Mandalorian has the opportunity to be a game changer for Star Wars, and people start looking at the franchise completely differently than the movies on a pedestal and start
Yeah.
looking at like, oh man, it's not just about the movies anymore. The TV show is great. Is there anything else like this? And they're like, yeah, I mean, it's animated, but check out this stuff. Or like, yeah, the books have been telling stories like this for a while, like it connects with that. Go read that. It could open the door to people being a little more open to things outside of the movies and hopefully outside of live action. So
Yeah.
game changing. All right, we're going to do one more, guys. We're going to name one thing, get it? One? Yeah. That could happen in The Rise of Skywalker that could make you legitimately shed tears, water out your eyes, crying in the theater. I should say weeping, although you'd probably cry as well. This one is going to John first.
And this doesn't mean it's the only thing, but this should come as no surprise to anybody. but if Chewbacca dies, I
That'd
will
make you cry.
Yes. Think about all those movies when the dog dies. This is that times 5 billion. If Chewbacca dies in The Rise of Skywalker, I will cry. And I've only sort of cried once during a Star Wars movie.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, what's when?
Oh, The Force Awakens at the end when she's like climbing the steps.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
All right.
All right, Lacey, do you got a scene or you got an idea for something that could make you cry?
Kylo Ren doesn't take his shirt off.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Leia confronting Kylo and forgiving him. And if they hug or anything, that will make me cry.
That'd be heavy duty. Yeah, that's a good one. And
I
also
think that
have
would make me cry more than if they show like a ghost Han and he forgives him would not make me cry as much as Leia.
Ghost Han.
Well, because I feel like people are throwing that around like, oh, we'll see Force Ghost with Han and I'm like, no.
That's like
Who's
people
throwing that around? You need to
Yeah.
unfollow some threads.
I like to follow a lot of different people and hear different ideas, and then
That's like when
sometimes
people,
ideas are silly.
when people are like raise a clone of Palpatine. I'm like, do you know what a clone is? It's an exact copy. She has to look just like Sheev. But that's sorry, tangent. That was a good pick though, Lacey. But
Thank you.
that'd also be wild how they pull that off because Carrie, not around. But.
Well, you don't know if they shot stuff with them together in Last Jedi or...
Maybe.
All I know is that anytime like a mother's on screen forgiving their kids, it's like very heartbreaking.
There was no scene. Oh yeah, there was. Never mind. I was gonna say there was no scene of Carrie Fisher hugging Rey, and they somehow worked that together. And then it was like, wait a minute, yes, there was. For me, I think the biggest thing in movies that makes me cry is when I think of somebody who, for whatever reason, doesn't get to live like the rest of their life, and they're like, I don't know. To me, it's if they do a Kylo Ren like death, like sacrifice thing, and he's on the like good side. If they play into this like because he made these choices, he will then never get to do the things that he wanted to do in his life. But I don't know if they're going to go into details like that. Like
You mean
he'll
like a
never
flash forward, like he sees what could have been?
Yes, like
Oof.
kind of a thing.
That
Like
is-
he
that
has
is deep.
he has an opportunity to have a son. He has an opportunity to have a family. He has an opportunity to,
Be
like,
forgiven, yeah.
Yes, and he I don't know, like he's dying, so he doesn't get that. It's kind of a weird thing to think about, but usually the type of stuff that gets me choked up in movies, and like here's a good example, like Interstellar gets me every time because there's that scene in the movie with Matthew McConaughey where he starts crying because he's watching the video of his kids grow up, and it's like that at that moment it's been taken away from him. He doesn't get that anymore. So I don't know how they do that in Star Wars, but I guarantee you if they lean into that and they lean in good, yeah. That's gonna.
I mean, that's close with Anakin, because we see Luke and Leia like as teenagers, and like he could have been there.
Yeah, there's fan art comics
Listen to what
about
I said,
it.
though. I said like if they lean into that and they lean it and they do it good. That was it.
Okay.
No, there's fan art comics about like if Anakin went the right way, like with them growing up and
Sure.
everything. Ugh, it's heartbreaking.
I mean, the only thing I can think is like he's laying on the ground and they keep cutting to a scene where he's like in a meadow wearing a nice white loose fit shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like there with Rey and he's reaching out to her and the sun is hitting her in such a way that's putting like these bright like lens flares Instagram filter on her face, and it's so happy there in their little village. And then it cuts back, and he's like bleeding and crazy stuff. All right. Anyway,
Oh my God.
that's it for One with the Force.
Wow. All right.
Way to wrap that up. All right, Lacey, you want to take us into one of our favorite segments, Patreon Podrace?
Yeah, so as you guys know, well, most of you know, we have a Patreon page. It's a way for you guys to support us outside of the show. It supports new content, new equipment, some travel, stuff like that.
Hat repairs.
Yeah. Yep. Hat repairs. But yeah, if you go to patreon.com/resistance broadcast, you can take part in the show, from topics to questions and stuff. But our generals, which is our top tier, have a chance to be a part of the show. And they give us their 60-second videos based on a topic that we provide to them. So this week's topic is General Jeremy. And he says, our question to him was, which Star Wars animated character that has never been seen in live action do you think has the best chance to appear in a future live action Star Wars series or film? So Jeremy, take it away.
Good morning all, General Jeremy here, reporting in after a long night of harvest. Hope you all are well. I would love to go with the trendy pick of Ahsoka Tano to be the character I would want to see brought into live action. But I'm going to go against the trend, and I really want to see Thrawn. I know it's going to sting Johnny a little bit, but I'm truly mesmerized by his character in the books and what he brought to Rebels and to the Empire. I find him very intriguing, and I would love to see more of him, especially in the live role. Maybe the Pierce Bronson little flash we saw at Celebration, who knows? But that's who I would go with, is Thrawn. Hope you're all well at the base. Catch you guys later. General Jeremy out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thrawn, baby. And I'm gonna say, Jeremy, you weren't gonna disappoint John by not picking Ahsoka. Like, he doesn't care about any of these characters. He doesn't want any of these people to show up. Am I right, Thrawn? I called you.
Are
Thrawn.
you right, Thrawn?
Am I right, John?
No, I mean, just because I don't think Thrawn will show up in live action doesn't mean I'm like, it better not happen, you know? So I think, if it did and fans got to check that out and it's a cool Star Wars story, I'll be there opening day too, man. So I think that's a good pick. A lot of people like Thrawn. I think they're running out of Thrawn stories to tell via the book. I think Timothy Zahn is getting tired typing probably. So maybe you bring Thrawn in to live action some way or another. I don't think that'll be episode 9, but there's a lot of Star Wars stories to tell and a lot of turf to cover. So I think that'd be cool. I think that's a solid pick. And why not see some blue skin with red eyes in live action? And Pierce Brosnan, let's do it. He's not Bond anymore. Bring him back.
Lacey, what did you think of the pod race, and would you pick Ahsoka or Thrawn?
So first of all, before we get into the pod race, I just thought of Pierce Brosnan, and I thought about how sad he was when he found out he wasn't James Bond anymore. Do you remember that, when he was like, they just kind of said, you're done? Yeah, they handled it terribly. Wow. Anyway, outside of that, Jeremy did an amazing job. I agree that a lot of people would choose Ahsoka off the bat because everyone loves Ahsoka, which I said this couple months ago, that I didn't realize how much people loved her. I knew she was popular, but I didn't realize like how much people love her. I feel like it's a recent thing. I might be wrong there. It just feels recent to me.
It's
like I feel like people maybe. Okay. I think Thrawn would be definitely a good pick. I was at Star Wars Celebration in 2016 when they announced Thrawn in the room with Dave Filoni, and the room lost it. I have a video of it. Like, people lost it.
In Rebels?
So, yeah.
Yes. That he was being made canon again. Also, they announced the book at the same time, but I don't know which one technically came first. Probably the Rebels thing. But
I think the trailer did. But when he came up on screen, like, grown men were like, losing it.
Yeah.
So anytime, like John said, there's excitement like that, I feed off of that. So I would totally be all for it. As long as other people are happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know who I would pick personally. James, I know you're a big Rebels fan. Is there someone that you would like to see? I know you like Resistance too, obviously, but would you pick Ahsoka?
Okay, so the question revolves around Rise of Skywalker. I actually think Thrawn could do more in the Rise of Skywalker than Ahsoka could.
With all the ships?
No, the question wasn't. It wasn't Rise of Skywalker. It was just
live action.
They've never been in live action. An animated character that you
can make the jump,
has the best chance to appear in live action. Yeah.
Well, okay. That's fair. If it still has the best, oh man, that I don't know. That's tough. That throws me. I was thinking more like,
how are you not
shows
saying
up in
Hondo Onaka?
best chance to appear?
You're a
live?
Hondo reformist.
That's true. But I think like if you stick Hondo in a movie, I'm like, cool, he's in the movie, and I'd be really excited about it. But you put Thrawn in the movie, that I don't know. It's like a different level.
I'd pick one of those
it's like,
Hutts,
holy
maybe.
crap, man!
From like Clone Wars.
Thrawn is there. One of the like Zero.
Like Bakos the Hutt or whatever their names are.
I'm here and I'm from New Orleans.
Bacos?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that their names? Zero.
It's Zero. Zero the Hutt is the one that is like blue and has a relationship with Cy Snoodles, and then she backstabs him and
He's
shoots
Cajun,
him.
right?
I don't know what that means.
Like French Quarters, New Orleans.
Oh, I thought it just meant spicy.
Yes. Just like our chat.
Speaking of spicy,
Yeah.
this next discussion might get a little spicy.
It could get
Yeah.
spicy.
John, do you want to
Could
take
get
us into the
dicey.
discussion?
Let's do it.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Okay, guys. The Rise of Skywalker, less than 3 months away, coming out in theaters. Is controversy inevitable? Have we not learned our lessons as fans from The Last Jedi? No matter what or how good this movie is, are there going to be pockets of fans that have boycott intentions or upheaval, or they're upset that their narratives didn't come into play? I personally think so. I think it's inevitable that we're going to have problems in fandom. And I'm talking about the diehards here, folks like you and us who listen to Star Wars podcasts and talk about it pretty much every day. Not necessarily the general audience that's going to walk in with their bucket of popcorn and walk out and say, I like that. That was a fun Star Wars movie. We're talking about diehard, passionate fans. I think it's inevitable. James and Lacey, let's open it up. No, like, one direction here or another, but what do you guys think? I think it is. I think it's going to cause problems, especially because it's the end. More importantly, there's no like, well, maybe the next one they'll do this to fix this. This is it. So while JJ calls it satisfying, and I believe him, I think I'll love it. I think there's going to be problems with fans.
So I think there's several groups that are going to be annoyed if certain things don't happen. I think that there's definitely the shipping crowd, that if their relationships don't happen or they don't come across on screen the way that they've considered for the past however many years, that they'll be upset. Even though I feel like I read oftentimes they're like, oh, I wouldn't care. It wouldn't be a big deal. But then it's hard when you put so much attention and energy and creativity and passion into something for it not to happen. You could be a little disappointed. So I see that happening if they don't get what they want. I could also see on the other side of that equation, the older crowd getting upset if they don't get that Leia, Luke, Han reunited at some point, or Luke having his big moment in the movie because it is called The Rise of Skywalker. People being like, how are you going to have the name of the movie like that and not have Anakin or Luke in it? And I could see them being like, Disney ruined Star Wars. Like, I see that happening.
Yeah.
But I agree. This is definitely something that no one can ignore. There's always going to be someone upset that they didn't get the moment.
James, before you start giving your thoughts on it, like Lacey, when you said like the people who say, well, I do love this idea, but I won't be upset if they do this. It's like when you say like, oh, tell me what you were going to tell me. Go ahead. I promise I won't be upset. Just tell me. You can say it. It's okay. I won't be upset. And then they say like something about like, and you're like, you get pissed off. And they're like, that's why I didn't want to tell you. That's how I feel that's going to be. Like,
oh, yeah. Like when, so here's a good example.
Yeah.
When someone will email our podcast with negative feedback for me, and I'm like, just tell me. It's okay. I can handle it. And then they tell me, and then I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
It's like, how does this hat look on me? Or how does my hair look today? And you're like, dude, you can just tell me. It's okay. It's like, it's fine either way. And then you're like, I don't like it.
It doesn't look good.
Like, what? Like that's how I feel.
This has been passed down for generations.
Yeah. Like they don't have to do this in the movie. It's cool. And then they watch it and they're like, J.J. Abrams sucks. Like,
yeah.
All right, James, what's going on? Is this inevitable, or are there going to be pockets of fans that just get real angry?
So when you first pitched this idea, my first thing was like, well, yeah, there's always going to be some people who don't like it, which like is like, it doesn't matter how great a music video is on YouTube. It could have like a 13 billion plays. Someone's going to give that thumbs down.
I think
You know what I mean?
just to paint the picture here, I'm thinking more like most people liked TFA. There were a couple of things, but are we looking at another TLJ situation where there's going to be a lot of fighting and dragged out this and that and JJ boycotters, that sort of environment, I guess.
And the way you guys are explaining it now, I'm like, well, you know, that's true. I think that there's a lot of fans out there that have done this. You know what I mean? They've set themselves up. And I think that to some degree, there are legitimate complaints when it comes to The Last Jedi. Like, I can understand people saying, you know, this and this and this about the film. And we generally like to blame it and put a lot on like expectations. Oh, you thought the movie was going to go this way and it didn't go that way. That's why you didn't like it. And so I don't know, there's a conversation to be had here. Did people learn their lesson from The Last Jedi and go, you know what? I thought it was going to go one way and it's not. So this time I'm just gonna it's the end. I'm just going to let it go. Is that the casual fan? Because I know what you're saying. There's going to be people who are still like, nope, I've got this whole thing figured out. I don't care how The Last Jedi went down. Maybe I was wrong here or there, but trust me, it's all going to wrap up like this because this is the point. And that, I don't know, man. I can't fathom being that confident about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes, and I don't mean to throw you under the bus, John, but I think you're kind of that way a little bit too. Like you've got a lot of theories. You're like, if they do this, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
I know you're kind of joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like raise a clone. Let's just say it. That's the story they tell. And it's good. It's fine. It's what it is. But see, you're even shaking your head right now. And I'm like,
but here's the problem. I'm not gonna like cause a problem because, you know, I'm a sensible person. But like, I may not like it necessarily. It may be my 6th favorite Star Wars movie, but it's still a Star Wars movie, and I'll probably like it. You know, and like you say, if it's done well, then fine. You know, if Rey and Kylo Ren make out, I don't like Reylo, right? I don't believe in that. But if they make out and it's like good, and I'm watching the movie, I'm like. Good Star Wars movie.
I was just about to say, there's no way Lacey is like, oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
She, for audio listeners, she mouthed it.
Yeah. She gave a thumbs up,
and I mean that pun intended.
Yeah. But if, on the flip side, James, like there could be people who, like we were talking about, like the people who didn't like TLJ, who are like, JJ is gonna save it, and I'm so confident that he's gonna save the day and right the ship and right the wrongs. And I see a lot of the people saying that in comments. You know, then if you flip that, there could be people who are like, Ryan did this, took it in this direction, and I loved it even more than TFA. And like I could see them seeing like JJ doing something and not what they want it to be, and saying like he ruined what Ryan built up, or like. So
I guess the question here is more.
100% see that.
Do you
really?
think? So going back to what John said initially is like TFA. Yes, people said it was a repeat of New Hope. They had issues with it, whatever. But overall, it united the fan base that like Star Wars is back.
Yep.
Then The Last Jedi came out, and everyone was like either I'm on board or, oh, I hate this. So a prime example is like me and my sister. My sister hates The Last Jedi. She said it ruined Star Wars for her. Me, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And then her husband's like, yeah, what are you talking about? And she's like, I will never watch it again. Like, that's what we're talking about. Those extreme polar opposites. Like, do you think this next movie will continue that trend? Because I personally am hoping it goes back to TFA where everybody's super excited and we can talk about Star Wars again. But I feel like the online community is at a point that some people just like that extreme, like, this sucks. Give me more YouTube clicks.
Yeah.
You know what I think kind of? I have a feeling that there's probably going to be a certain group of people that even if they didn't like the movie, I think generally they're probably going to be like, well, at least it wasn't as bad as The Last Jedi.
Oh, that crowd.
Which is totally going to be this crowd that like has problems with it, and they still want to drive their point home. Like, I've been harping on The Last Jedi for 2 years and how crappy that movie was. This one wasn't great either, but I don't know. I don't want to be so negative about Star Wars. This is the last one. There's no changing it. This is what it is. And I think there's going to be a whole crowd of people that are just like, I don't know. They don't want to be proven wrong. So they're still like, well, The Last Jedi still sucked, but this one was all right. And I think that's generally going to be the Last Jedi haters. That's generally how they're going to take this movie.
That's like the like acceptance in the grieving process. Like, I accept what's happened now because it's done, and like at least it's not that. Like, I'll take it. You know, like you know, when you're trying to like buy a car at a dealership, and they're like, "Well, we can't give you this or that," and you're like, "All right, just give me the 4-door sedan. Like, I'll take it, whatever." But my thing is that it's the end here that like what happened with Game of Thrones, like fans going crazy. Like, this is the end. So there is no more, like I was saying before, well, they can turn it around in the next one or the next season or the next movie, episode blank. This is it. So this is how it ends, and people have to like accept that, and that will make people angry because they'll be like, this is how Star Wars ends. This is how this ends for this story. I think that's going to be the biggest percentage of the angry crowd. And I think a lot of that will be older original trilogy, 42 years of build up. This is how you're ending this George Lucas's story. He would never have ended his story like this. Or, I can't believe you took this, what started with Luke Skywalker looking at the suns, and you did this. It'll be the older crowd. It'll be people who hated the prequels, like my generation. It'll be even newer people where they thought something was going to happen. It was going to be this type of movie, and it wound up being this. I think the fact that it's the end is going to be the crippling part for a lot of fandom. I think that's going to be the biggest percentage of, and it'll come from different branches, but the fact that it's the end, that whole Game of Thrones thing, people lost their mind, man.
Well, we didn't really talk about it in the news, but not Lacey. I was going to lead into Lacey after I said it, but it was Daisy Ridley that said that the ending to Rise of Skywalker will not be as controversial as the ending of Game of Thrones. She said that in an interview. And that's what I was going to ask Lacey is like, do you believe that idea? Do you think that she has any room to speak on that? Or do you think it's just like, I don't know. To me, I just think she knows what it is. And she's like, guys, I think you're just building it up too much. It's not going to be like some big reveal. Daisy Ridley.
Oh, I got confused.
Daisy Ridley said that the end of Rise of Skywalker will not be as controversial as the end of Game of Thrones. She
I don't
said
see
that.
how
Right.
that's remotely possible.
Yeah, she did say that at D23.
I don't see why this ending has to be a controversial ending. I think it's just
If people
it just is what it is.
upset
It's not like there's no twist.
people invested 7 or 8 years in Game of Thrones, like 10 episodes a season. I check in, I watch HBO, and people lost their mind at how angry they were. They wanted those guys fired from their next stuff, boycotting. This is 42 years, the most popular movie franchise
Childhoods.
of all time. There's going to be controversy because of how it ends, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's going to be the driving force for a lot of the negativity.
All right, Lacey, let me. Oh, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that this conversation is making me anxious.
Really?
Well, I think that's why I wanted to have it, because I think we need to pad up the windows, board up the windows, and prepare for this because it's coming, and we need to, as fans who like handle Star Wars in a positive way, need to just realize it's coming no matter what we do, and we have to try to enjoy our ride, and keep it out, keep it external.
I'm going to go with James on this one and say world peace.
Yeah. So I have two things. Like, one is, do you think that there will be more fans that dislike this ending or this final movie than Last Jedi?
No.
And no. So it will be less than The Last Jedi's controversy.
I think so.
It better.
You know what I
But
think?
John,
you know why
seem
I think
like you're
that, though?
setting up a lot of people that are like, I could see this group and this group and this group
Yep.
and stuff. And I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Here's
What were you
why
gonna say,
I
Lacey?
think that, though. Because I think The Last Jedi, and we've talked about this before, you had tons of people going into that movie being like, Luke Skywalker is back. He's going to take on all the Knights of Ren and like use lightning to kill people. And he's like fighting everyone. And people went in going, oh, I'm going to see my childhood hero again. And they didn't get what they wanted, so they left disappointed. This time, those same people that left disappointed are going in with probably low expectations, and they're going to leave happy.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? They're going to stay being negative?
What if
I'm
Kylo
kinda
Ren
with
doesn't get
Lacey.
redeemed? What if he dies the villain? What if
Then that's the story they wanted to tell.
I understand, but there are people who are literally on Twitter saying this is happening, and not like in a fun way, like this is definitely happening. It's in the pages. It's written. If that doesn't happen, wait, the storm is coming. If Reylo doesn't happen, there's pockets. There's a lot of wonderful people who ship Reylo. There's also pockets of Reylo who will flip this place upside down and make it impossible to even be on social media. I'm sorry, that's the truth. There's a lot of things like if Anakin doesn't show up, there's a pocket of people who are so convinced that Hayden Christensen is coming back. If he doesn't show up, even they'll be upset. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. There's nothing we can do about it.
I think that part that plays into this, without getting too depressing, part of this is because the world is in a very weird place right now. So people are investing a lot of their time and energy and connecting who they are personality-wise with these characters and these things to ignore the terrible things that are happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why they get so protective and they have ownership. But the crazy thing is that, yes, I agree that people will be that way, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as The Last Jedi.
I hope
So
not.
that takes me back to John. You say, I hope not.
Yep.
But do you think it will be?
No.
Not you, Lacey.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to John because he keeps going, I hope so. It better be. But he's not telling me if he thinks it will be.
I don't think so,
Yeah.
just because I think now we're at the point where it's Ryan Johnson, and it's not even what's in the, like...
He's tied to it.
There will be people who hate Ryan Johnson so much that will over publicly like Episode 9 to show how bad Ryan Johnson is. That crowd will come out. Your geeks and gamers, like those guys, or I shouldn't even have said their name, but those people who hate Ryan Johnson so much will overhype 9 to just bury 8 even more. That pocket of crowd will come out too.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I was saying earlier. Like,
Yeah.
at least it's not as bad as The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think.
Like,
but even if they don't like it that much, they'll pretend to like 9 just to bury him.
that's what I think Lacey's going in. I think that all kind of falls into the crowd of like, it can't get any worse than this. So this movie probably doing what JJ does, wraps up everything in a fairly decent, customer service, satisfactory, guaranteed kind of way. And I mean, I could understand a lot of people being like, it was kind of cheap, kind of bland, whatever. I was hoping that they would do something kind of like how The Last Jedi did. Yeah, and they go like a little bit crazy and we get something really cool that could stand the test of time, but they played it safe, you know what I mean? And I think safe, I hate to say it, but like I think safe is great for Star Wars.
I do too.
I want safe.
Isn't Return
I
of the Jedi kind of safe?
Yeah, like I think that the risk that's involved in Star Wars needs to happen in that second film.
Oh, I do.
That's
too.
where they need
Yeah.
to like.
I don't want to, and
they
I don't
need to
want
go.
to like harp on TLJ
How do you feel
so
about
much.
this? And then scatter it all up, and then go. All right, now what are we gonna do? All right, let's land the ship. That's how Star Wars needs to be, I think.
My other like worry, and I'm just listing out my worries because it helps me like deal with them. And I guess that's where I'm at with this discussion. I didn't even know where I was going to go into this from my point of view. But the other thing is like, I don't know when this started or like what show or movie this started with, but the idea that like fans, like this is how you should have told your story thing. Like when did that start? Like who has the ego to be like, you didn't write your story right and this is what you should have written? Like, that's nuts to me. Like, I'm sorry.
Do you know when that happened? I think that happened. I mean, I'm sure it happened before this, but I think after the prequels were finished and YouTube became a thing, I think people finally had an opportunity. The average person had an opportunity to say, here's how I would have fixed it.
I think it was before that. I think it was fan fiction with Harry Potter. I think that's where it started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't. But maybe, yeah, that could be because like another franchise.
There
like
were
that,
a lot of videos, and you're right. It's not limited to Star Wars. So the other franchise examples, I think, are very
it started with Harry Potter, where people were like, "You should have gone this way. Hermione should have been with Harry." Blah 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 blah.
And James is right too. Like there were plenty of people who made a niche out of like, if the Phantom Menace was good, this is how it would have went, or this is how it should have ended. There's a lot of those different types of...
So insulting. Nothing annoys me more when people are telling creatives that they should have done something else.
I mean, that's why George Lucas sold Star Wars. He was so done.
It just bothers me so much because the work and time that goes into these things. Like,
did you see like the making of season 8 of Game of Thrones? I know you guys don't watch it, but the thousands of people involved, the 8 months of production and building sets.
Right, their life's work. Yeah.
The whole cast and crew just rallying together to like put this final epic season together. And then people just sit there and watch it and they're like, it sucked. You should have wrote this. Like, that is so insane to me. Like, boycott this and rewrite this. Fire these people. Like, that, I mean, we've entered, I don't know where, maybe it's the internet and these voices are always there and now we just see them and hear them. But like, we need to stop tweeting people who are like trolls and like bad people, because then you're giving them the stage. I think that's a big thing. Like, if you don't like what someone says, I'm not going to quote tweet them, because then it's like, okay, all my followers, that's this person. Now you know their name. Then they'll talk about them, and then their name goes around and around and around.
What happened with like, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it at all?
Oh, then we have to get rid of the internet.
I'm just saying, like, I
people
feel like
will be
that's
reminded
a thing.
when Bambi comes out on Diamond Edition.
That's what it's from. Thank you for getting that reference.
Was that Thumper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom always told me.
You get what I'm saying though? Like, it's just, it exists and it festers. And like, even some people who are good people, their first inclination when they see something online is, let me say what I don't like about it. It's just like, I don't know what it is about the internet and that comment culture. Most people who comment usually are negative. Like, it's just one of those things, and it's undefeatable in my opinion. But the best you could do is try to ignore it. But maybe I'm a pessimist or cynical. I think there's going to be some kind of storms in different pockets after 9, just because it's the end. That's my last take on it.
I can understand why you're concerned, and having this conversation again like makes me feel anxious about it. But I feel like James said that the ending of this movie is going to be, quote, satisfying, fun, and somewhat safe.
I think it'll be safe too. I hope, yeah.
And look, The Last Jedi was a great movie, but I left that movie feeling uneasy, feeling anxious, which is what they wanted you to do. They wanted to leave you thinking about it. However, I don't like leaving movies feeling uneasy and anxious and like what's going to happen. I'm terrible with ambiguity. Everybody knows this. So like anytime I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, but what's going to happen?
That's so funny. That movie is so bizarre to me.
That's how I felt like leaving it.
The Last Jedi. I walked out of The Last Jedi. I was like, I love that movie. And I was like talking to people about it. I'm like, I can't believe this happened. And they're like, that's not what happened there. I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, I think there's just a lot of questions. You know, you don't know. you leave Kylo in like a very sad spot, and then Luke's gone, and then Rey's doesn't know what's going to happen. She even says it to Leia, like, what now? Like, that was me. I was like, what does this mean? Like, what is going to happen? Which is exciting as a Star Wars fan, but also for me personally makes me super anxious. Whereas going back to what James said before, Return of the Jedi, I watch that movie and I leave the room so happy, being like, Star Wars is the best, and everybody saved the day, and the good guys won, and it's awesome. And I feel like that's what's going to happen with this movie. And that's why I'm confident that I don't think it's going to be as crazy as The Last Jedi.
Okay. So sometimes when I'm on the show, I kind of like, I know it seems weird, but like, I feel like sometimes I give credit to the people that don't like Last Jedi. I like The Last Jedi, right? But I think there has to, no matter how much you like it, you have to admit there's something weird going on with that movie because it didn't click. Right? It didn't click with people or the fan base or something.
It's not rewatchable to me. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think another thing, like sometimes, have you ever gotten that response from somebody where you're trying to like explain something? You go, look, if you have to explain it, then the person, the filmmaker or whatever, didn't get it right. And I'm like, I don't know how to argue with that because technically, like, can you argue that it's great and everybody loves it? Because you'd be wrong. You know, and for the most part, everybody liked Force Awakens. Like that's the thing is, I feel like if you came out of the Force Awakens and you were like, yeah, that's pretty good, I like that, right? And then you didn't have that coming out of The Last Jedi, then you're probably going to be optimistic about JJ returning,
right?
And that's why I think there's like, you know, maybe you didn't get that coming out of The Last Jedi, and that's fair, but you got to remember you did get that coming out of the other movie.
Right, because she's on the ship, and she's smiling, and then she's with Luke, and everyone, you get the big happy music at the end, and it's hooray! Whereas Last Jedi, I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, nobody came out of that movie, and they were like, I don't know, like they had this interpretation, like, okay, today, like literally today at work, I talked to somebody about The Last Jedi and they were like, man, I don't know about that movie. And I was like, what is it about it? And they were like, you really like how they handled Luke and stuff? And I'm like, again, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I was like, yes, like saved the whole galaxy, like overcame all his depressions and problems and personal feelings on stuff and came back to you know, in the most pacifistic way, the exact true way that a Jedi should do it and stuff. And he's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And it's
but
just
it went from Return of the Jedi Luke to that Luke. So that's jarring for someone that doesn't like immediately get top level get it.
But my point is, just to keep it in the context of this trilogy, nobody came out of The Force Awakens like, I just, you know, I didn't like what they did with Han. You know what I mean? Like they changed his character and I'm like, what do you mean they changed his character? That's Han. That's exactly who he is. And everybody's like, no, Han's like this other person and stuff. However, JJ did it. And I don't want to use these words. I'm using this very lightly, but like JJ did it right. And maybe he and Rian Johnson did it wrong because he did for whatever reason, he didn't click with everybody.
Right. Because Luke's not leaning on a tree smiling in The Last Jedi. So when you're expecting Luke, you're expecting that Luke.
TLJ aside,
I think again, but my point is that I think that the average fan is going to come out of this movie, watch The Rise of Skywalker, and go, I feel like I enjoyed how they wrapped everything up.
Yes.
Like I think JJ has that ability, and this movie is landing the ship in a very satisfying, safe way, and it's going to make people feel better about the down of The Last Jedi.
People are going to clap when it lands on the tarmac.
Yes, that's what I'm,
All right, so
thank God that was so much better than the last one, and everybody else who likes The Last Jedi is like,
this is still great too.
Yeah.
Lacey, final thoughts?
Everyone's gonna love The Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, I think my final thought on this, it's like, I don't know if it's having a kid or something that changed in my life, but I just don't take Star Wars seriously. And what I mean by that, obviously I do a Star Wars podcast and I love it more than any hobby or like entertainment I have. But I'm not going to let it like, what are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I just watched The Other Guys the other day, and it was like, you started a Star Wars podcast sarcastically to make fun of Star Wars fans?
Is that in the movie?
He does like, I can do ballet, and he does it like perfectly. And he's like, yeah, I learned it to show how the ballet, the other people, how stupid they were.
No,
he's like, you learned ballet sarcastically?
Well, now people are going to think that's why, yeah.
No. Yeah, it's just funny. Like, you like start a podcast just to show it how easy and stupid it is.
No, it's just, I guess my point is that I don't take it that seriously.
Sorry,
where it's
I derailed you.
Like, yeah, makes or breaks my life. I got bills to pay. I got stuff to take care of in life. Like, life is short. Like, this is my fun. And that's how I go into these things. And that's why, I don't tweet all that seriously. And I just love Star Wars for the fun of it. And I don't want to ever feel like it's a struggle to be a Star Wars fan. And it's felt like that a little bit for a lot of us, I think, the last couple of years. So, and we not for whatever reason you want to say, but I think a lot of people out there may agree with that. And I just think, I'm hoping it's a good movie. I'm hoping it's a good time. I'm hoping I walk out of the theater and it was fun and I want to go back and see it. And I do hope most fans love it. I'm just saying I am also preparing myself to deal with like, man, the negativity and the thing and like the boycotts to rewrite it and stuff. Like, I'm just preparing myself that it's going to happen because I think it is. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope everybody loves it just as much as like TFA, but we'll find out. But that's the hope. And we hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. I don't know, interesting conversation, and we'll see how it goes down in a few months, I guess, right, guys?
I have one final thing to add on that. It's not really part of the discussion.
Is it about the other guys by any chance?
No,
okay.
But it's about this concept. How do you know if you're going to be one of those people?
Yeah.
Like, you
the
could go
angry
into this
people
movie
or the
being
happy
like,
people?
No, the angry people. Like, because you could go into this movie being like, I'm going to like this movie, but you got to think, so did so many people going into The Last Jedi.
I think that was
everybody. I think went in being like, this is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they came out and they were like, what did they do? You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. I just think, like, how do you know if you're going to be one of the people that's like, man, this movie's going to be great?
Alex and Steve,
and then it just happens. It happens to you. You watch it, and
Alex and Steve made the "In Ryan We Trust" stickers like 6 months before the movie came out, and it's like, we have no idea, but we feel like it's going to happen. People were like wearing TLJ shirts, even though the movie hadn't been out yet. I know that's happening with The Rise of Skywalker, but people are already jokingly putting The Rise of Skywalker in their top favorite Star Wars movie lists on Twitter. I'm like,
wow,
you saw a minute of the movie. Well, anyway. All right, guys. Now we are going to get into the fun, though, because Resistance Transmissions, no matter what type of thing we do in our discussion, whether it's a game or a list or a deep discussion that gets dark and twisted, we always end with a good note, and Lacey's going to take us there in Resistance Transmissions. Lacey, what's going on this week?
This conversation made me so anxious. My brain is like, what's gonna happen in December? And I'm like, I don't know. Stop.
Are you like, what's his name in Step Brothers crying at the dinner table?
Yeah.
John, quit talking about Will Ferrell movies on our Star Wars podcast.
All right, let's go old school and go back to Resistance Transmissions.
I think the reason I feel so anxious is because, a little different than you, John, like, Star Wars is super important to me, and it has made me who I am and like what I do.
Hold on. It is important to me.
I'm not saying it's not important.
You guys are putting words in my mouth. These people are going to slaughter me in the comments.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that you were like, I do it for fun. I'm saying, to my fault, I take it too seriously sometimes. That was what I was saying. Not that you don't. I'm saying that sometimes I do, because it does mean something to me of who I am.
I feel like I need to like do an hour monologue explaining myself now to people before I get eviscerated online.
John's just
gonna shout at people and be like, "That's it, guys. I'm here. I'm explaining. Daddy's home."
I'm trying to explain why I feel so anxious.
Yeah.
And that's why. All right. So,
Talladega
now for
Nights.
some fun. It is time for resistance transmissions. So, how this works is every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation because he loves Star Wars
Because I don't take it. I don't take it seriously.
and is a huge fan of the Star Wars. All right, so
Gaslightingjohnhoey.com.
not. All right,
Go
so
look
the
up
situation.
go look up my tweets from April 2018. Let's light this party up.
Oh, calm down. All right. So it is the scenario is it is time for resist. Oh no, that's the first sentence. Let's say Sheevy Babes is the one communicating with Kylo Ren through Vader's mask. Though Ren thinks it's Vader. Oh, comma. Though Ren thinks it's Vader. What is something Palpatine would say to him to keep making him think he's talking to Vader? So it's like a scenario where he's like, what will he say to be like, oh, it's actually Vader?
Yeah, so it's Sheev talking through the helmet, and he's trying to convince Kylo like to not blow his cover that it is Vader.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
He's
first,
like kind of confused. He's in the land of the lost.
Yeah.
So first up is Darth Del Rio at Darth Rio. And he said, quote, I should have thrown that good-for-nothing son of mine down the shaft instead of that sweet old man.
Stands to reason.
Next is Joseph Solano at Dr. Ragnarok. And he said, starts humming the Imperial March.
Gosh. I love John Williams.
Yeah. Next is
He's no semi-pro.
Sholdog at J Sholdog. Fathers are overrated, am I right? Next is Patrick Covey at Gannon136. And
Hey.
Pat said, the Emperor was the best boss I ever had. That Snoke guy, garbage. Next is More 5150 at More 5150. And they said, Kylo, grandfather, I will finish what you started. Sheev and Mask, I certainly hope so. I am not as forgiving as... Wait, Vader is not as forgiving as... No. Kylo, grandfather? Sheev and Mask, you know what I mean. Just do it. Next is Grant Zeppernick at Grant_Zepp. And he said... You know when I threw the Emperor down the shaft, I immediately regretted it. The Emperor was a cool guy once. You get to know him. And you should
Go ahead.
And you should listen to me because I'm totally your pop.
Pop. Show me again the power of the darkness, Pop, and I'll finish what you started.
Have you ever seen the thing with Batman? I think it's in one of the movies, the animated Lego movies or whatever. He's like, I'm Bruce Man. And then he's like, I mean Batwayne. Dang it. Like he's like confused. That's what all these remind me of. It's like,
Yeah.
it's me, Darth Palpatine. I mean, like, and he's like, crap. I mean, Sheev Vader. I mean, like, he's confused.
My favorite part of that movie is when he's driving the bat airplane thing and he's just listening to music and it's like darkness, dead parents.
Yeah. What was that movie? Lego Batman.
No, it was Lego Movie. The one I'm thinking of.
Oh no, I was thinking of Lego Batman.
Oh, Lego Movie, another Will Ferrell movie.
Whoops. Next is Sean Santarud at Rude Cold. How rude, Sean. And he said, I'm trying not to edit this. He said, a cackle stops to be replaced by a bad Vader breathing impersonation. So he's like, ha ha ha.
Oh, we have to extract that clip.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So then Blog of the Hut at Blog of the Hut said, Sheev, good. Kylo, what? Sheev, sorry, I meant good.
Good.
And then comes, last but not least, Rick Villanueva at Cad Bane's Bounty said,
What up,
Kylo.
Rick?
Kylo, I will finish what you started, grandfather. Shivi Mask. Here's where the fun begins. Kylo, what? Shivi Mask, what?
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 I do that all the time. I'll say something, people will be like, what do you, what? No, what?
What?
Guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. Every week, John puts up some scenario.
Yep.
And you guys give your answers, and the most creative, best answers get put on the show. Make me laugh. Let's have a good time.
Yes.
Back to John.
Yeah, but not too much fun. Guys, I take Star Wars very seriously.
Oh my God, I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Crazy discussion. We hope you took away something from it and can batten down the hatches. And together, those of us who love Star Wars can trudge through the storm and get by through the other side. But thanks so much for being a part of the Resistance. Make sure you are subscribed to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, all that stuff, wherever you are. Sign up because we do 2 episodes every week, as you know, and spread the word because we're growing because of you guys, and we really appreciate that. So share a link with somebody, take a second, and get them on board. TRB family is always growing, and we thank you. Make sure you guys do head to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Also, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. As Lacey talked about earlier in the show, we have 5 tiers starting at $2 a month. If you join us at the $5 tier and up, you can start submitting topics for the show, get to the front of the line with questions. We have a group chat at the tier 3 level. Our generals, a bunch of you get to be on the podcast, a lot of merch, a lot of fun stuff. And again, every day we put pretty much new content up there. We want to make it worth your while because we take it seriously and we appreciate your support. So head over there, check it out, find what tier works for you, and join the Resistance. We appreciate the support. What else? TeePublic, Resistance Broadcast. Check out our swag. I think I just saw another Make Solo 2 Happen shirt sold during this podcast. I think that's pretty cool. Really? So find, and they do sales all the time. So if you want to wait for that, I don't blame you. And what else was to plug here? Oh, our Patreon generals. We have Carmelo, Brian Shalito, Andrew Staley, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you for all of your support, generals. We really appreciate it. And good job, Jeremy, on your pod race this week. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and at Star Wars Newsnet. James?
I mean, it's right there. You can read it. It doesn't take Holmes and Watson to figure that one out. I'm at Meyer Trunks. But I do want to say, put all your One with the Force answers in the comments below, and also give us a couple more of those Resistance transmissions. If you didn't see it there, we'll probably read it if you want to stick a couple more answers to the Resistance transmission.
And more Chris Kattan movies.
What?
More Chris Kattan movie titles in the comments.
Yeah. Chris Kattan.
Corky Romano. Lacey, what about you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
Excellent. And that is it, guys. We hope you enjoy your weekends. We hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, we'll be back with you on Monday morning with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.
Bye. Hope you find your dad. Elf.
I'm so glad I didn't stop recording.